Yo, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Good Saturday morning. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great week. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. Hey, I had quite a week. that would be the understatement of the century. I just want to make sure that we're live here on all channels. The ones I have left, wink, wink. For those of you who are perhaps haven't seen or heard or on my email list or anything. So anyways, I got hacked pretty bad on Tuesday. So right now I'm just streaming here on LinkedIn and YouTube. These are the only two channels I have left. And I'm making light of that. I mean, it's kind of a serious situation, but at the end of the day, it's just a social media channel, right? But I wanted to pop online here and for guys who like to share their experiences with others. By the way, if you're popping on, I would love to know where you're at, where you're tuning in from, who's out there. But for a guy who likes to share his life, I mean, having a couple social media channels taken away, it hurts a little bit. It does. And so I was like, you know what, I just kind of want to go on and I called this stream open mic, and maybe this is something that I do fairly regularly. Maybe not. Maybe this is the only time I ever do this, but I just wanted to pop online and connect with some people and just kind of share what the heck happened this week. So anyways, I'll just kind of get right to it. And by the way, we're going to have some guests here on. Feel free to hop on and off as you wish throughout the stream. But I do have an agenda. I do have certainly some things I want to talk about here today. And so we'll get to that and probably have some guests on here as well. But so anyways, 2 weeks to the day after launching this book on Tuesday, I woke up to alerts on my phone. My Facebook account has been hacked. The passwords have been changed. Emails were literally coming in from what I believe was actually Facebook into my email and then disappearing like before my eyes, right? And then, of course, I would go right to my trash and try to find those emails and they'd be gone. And then all of a sudden, other emails were coming in, other alerts. And of course, you want to stop it, right? So you start like following the paper trail. You start clicking on like change password, get code. Send these people an email. And anyway, long story short, throughout the entire day on Tuesday, I started, from what I believe, actually going down a trail that wasn't even real. And that led me to on the phone. I got on the phone with what I thought was Meta by 4:00 in the afternoon. And I can't even believe, like I'm saying, like, it sounds crazy because my BS meter for this stuff is pretty high. Like when people fall victim to this stuff, I'm just like, how did you do that? Like, did you not know? All right. And at 4:00 in the afternoon, desperate to like kind of get stuff restored, I hopped on the phone with what I thought was Meta. And if you have ever been gone down this road, and this is a little PSA here, they want you to download an app on your phone so they can see your phone. Never do that. Never do that. And so I'm ashamed to say, in some respects, like I did that, gave them access to my phone, started making financial transactions to find the hacker. And I was on the phone for 2 hours. The phone call ended abruptly. My BS meter was going off the whole time. But I was promised that at the end of this phone call, all these transactions would disappear, yada, yada, yada. And as soon as the phone call ended, like I went into panic mode. I called a friend. I was like, does this sound right? And he is like, this does not sound right at all. And so I went into full-fledged panic mode. I became physically ill. Like the amount of horror and overwhelmed with terror hit me at once, and I became physically ill. I regrouped some. My wife and I hopped on the phone. We started like canceling credit cards. My phone is dinging because more fraud is happening as I'm trying to cancel accounts. And we spent the next 5 hours changing passwords, alerting authorities, the whole bit. Didn't sleep a wink that night. This is Tuesday night. Again, 2 weeks to the day. Like you go from like a high of like launching a book, building this momentum to like now, you're going through your brain. You're like, dude, like my entire identity is stolen. Like it was bananas. And Josiah says, man, sorry about that. Him and Micah. By the way, Josiah may join us here in just a little bit. I appreciate that. Like, I love that you're watching it. Makes me know that I'm actually live somewhere. That's great. Because right now, I don't know what's going on. But woke up on Wednesday morning. and reached out to a good friend of mine by the name of Craig Siegel. In fact, he was nice enough to endorse this book. And I just said, Craig, if you got 30 seconds, call me. Sure enough, that man calls me. And, I'm literally sitting here in the dark, like it's dark in Minnesota, like 6 a.m. My mental health is not great, and was up all night. And, he just hopped on the phone. First thing he says, I kid you not, is he goes, "This is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you." And I was like, wow, that's pretty profound. And honestly, I kind of rebutted and I snapped back and I was like, dude, don't be just telling me this foo-foo stuff, that like the stuff that you want me to hear. Right. And he goes, I promise you, Jared, this is the best thing that could possibly happen to you. You don't see it now. We will laugh about this someday. You will, in the future, you will look back and you will say that this is the best thing that's ever happened. He said, you could look at this as like, this is horrible. This is horrific. This is the worst thing that's ever happened, which you want to, that's the pity party you want to have in your mind. Or you could say, this is what an opportunity. What an opportunity. I mean, the truth is 2 hours after that phone call, I was hopping on a webinar with a huge group of realtors, and I was supposed to give an hour presentation. And Craig knew this, and he's like, you're going to be able to hop on that webinar and connect with these people on a deeper level. You're going to share this today, and you're going to show them, by the way, I talk about this exact thing in this book. And it's like, God's like, you are going, if you're going to preach this message, like if this is the message you're going to throw out to the world and you want me to use it to its greatest ability, you are going to have to literally practice what you preach. And so Wednesday was a better day. Thursday, I was in the Twin Cities, made an appearance on WCCO, did a book signing in Plymouth thereafter. And it was great. It was great. Like mentally, I was back like 80, 90%. I think like old Jared, and when I say old Jared, I'm like kind of pre-transformation, pre-Life-Undeferred Jared a couple of years ago. I think that I probably would have threw in the towel on that Thursday appearance. Like I'm just not there mentally. And, but again, the mind shift changed when it was like, is this possibly the best thing that could have ever happened to me? Or is this like an attack and I should just sit and sulk and, cower and, huddle up in the corner and, in the fetal position and just kind of roll over and die. And so what Craig said to me on Wednesday morning really did help, and it changed my mindset. And I think that is such an important play that we have to understand. We have to understand when it comes to life challenges. Like I stand firmly that there aren't bad things that happen to us. There are difficult things. We have good and difficult. If we have the mindset that there are bad things that happen to us, well, I mean, that's kind of a tough pill to swallow. Like we live in a world where there's bad things kind of constantly being handed to us. And that's how that was kind of the paradigm that I've had. If you know my story, if you read my book, you kind of understand my background. And that was the goggles that I wore as I looked at life. There's always bad things happening. COVID is another great example. I mean, that really, because of the paradigm and the mindset that I had at that time, COVID really, really was very difficult, very difficult. I remember saying and thinking like, this is the best day of my life from here. Every day thereafter, it's going to get worse and more difficult because we live in a broken world where there's bad things, there's evil, and my life is just a byproduct of those things. And that's why, again, pre-Life-Undeferred, that's why COVID really, really, really put me like down in a very, very dark spot. And really this book and this message is a testimony of me getting out of that through God's help and changing how I think and changing my paradigm and changing how I look at the world, my situation. So, again, the challenges to you, what challenges are you facing right now? What's happening in your movie that is good or difficult? And let's look at the difficult things. Is it possible that the divine, through his loving hand, isn't trying to hurt you, but help you and expand you? And again, Craig's words on Wednesday morning really, really rang true, where it was like, for you, Jared, to take your message platform with God's help to the next level, perhaps some of this, this is necessary. It was just, it was a very tough pill to swallow, but even later that day, I was contemplating like, am I ever going to, but by the way, quick update, everything's fine. Like everything is fine. My identity is fine. My credit is fine. Almost all of the funds that were stolen are back. And honestly, like even if they weren't, it's fine. It's totally fine. Like, this is not about a money conversation. And so, we may lose a little bit of money. Dude, we'll totally recover. It'll be just fine. What hurt was like, you feel so cheated. Like, and this has happened to you. Like, you feel so gross. And so that was really what hurt, that you just feel so violated and taken advantage of. And, the Facebook stuff is gone. Like, right now, as of right now, my Facebook page is gone. I've got a team of people working on that to restore that. My Instagram is there. I think you can see it. I can't see it, but I think you can see it, and it may or may not come back. And honestly, it might be what is necessary. Like, I've got like a personal Facebook page, and that's probably not the best play for right now for what I want to do and where I feel God is taking me through this process. So anyway, that's where it stands right now. It is so good to be here. It has been a week. I'm a little physically exhausted. I'm a little mentally exhausted, but dude, it is good to be living right now. And this is another reason why it's good to be here right now. I asked my buddy Josiah Keneally to join me. The brother from another mother joins me, another guy who endorsed the book, which I'm so thankful of. But Josiah, my man, it's good to see you today.
Jared, good to see you. Are we like connected? We're good.
We're good. Like everything is. I promise you, it is good. I've had so many people reach out to me, and they're pouring their heart out, which I appreciate. Like, I'm so thankful. I got texts this morning. People are like, oh my gosh, I saw what happened. Like, it's really. I'm not saying that just to like say it online. I truly mean that. Like, I'm good. So I appreciate you asking.
Wow, man.
Has this ever happened to you? Has this ever happened to you?
Okay, so not the Facebook or Instagram stuff, but we had our credit card like hacked pretty bad. We don't gamble, but like it was a gambling website that just like went bonkers with like thousands of dollars worth of charges. The cool thing, we didn't have to pay a penny for it. It was like pending for months, or maybe about 8 weeks. Maybe it was only 2 months, but a bit of a headache. But man, for you, I'm like more concerned on the like social media side of it, because writing a book, you're like, you want to get the word out.
Well, okay. So something to that. First of all, like, losing your Facebook page, that's a first world problem. That's not a real problem, right? Like we're not talking about real. People have real problems in life. Losing your Facebook page is not a real problem. So I want to express that right away. Here's something I want to say right away. I'm glad you brought that up. Craig went on to say that, I keep referencing this conversation with Craig Siegel. He said, he called me out one time, and I can't remember if this was on Wednesday when we chatted after the theft. He said, Jared, you think in lack. And I said, what do you mean? He said, when you grow momentum, when light enters an area of your life, for example, like you were at my party, man, like that's light. Like a lot of you, like online, felt it was awesome. Yeah. And that night, I wish I could go back and replay that night over and over again. There was an energy in the room. There was God's presence. There was light, right? Mm-hmm. And when your Facebook page goes down, every second that goes by, in my mind, I feel like the light is getting extinguished. And Craig called me out, and he said, when light enters, it never goes out. It only grows. And he said, you're not big enough. You're not big enough or strong enough to extinguish the light. Let me tell you, I needed to hear that, because that brought me so much comfort, knowing that every moment that goes by that like I can't access my crowd, my posse, it doesn't matter. And I think that people need to hear that. Like, you can't really screw up your life really as much as you think you can, perhaps. What do you think of that?
Jared, I mean, it's inspiring. I remember like the whole, like I was watching before I clicked join, and you were talking about, we have a choice, all of us, whether it's you and the identity theft stuff, the Meta, Instagram, Facebook, that loss, the identity theft, the accounts, we can either view them as challenges or opportunities. And something that like I want to hear you talk about is when you signed this book, I got chills. Because you said your dream life awaits. Like, that's what it says right here, is it says your dream life awaits. And Jared, like, that speaks to me on a deep, like, soul level, because I'm a dreamer. I do have like vision. And what you're not doing is you're not saying like, Josiah, you'll never face a difficult thing or
Mhm.
challenge or obstacle. I remember being with Louis Giglio, and he's another author that I have a couple of his books. And he said, anytime you launch a torpedo into enemy territory, which this is PS,
Mhm.
Jared, like we're living in a wartime
Mhm.
and there's a real enemy to our lives.
Mhm.
And you've launched a torpedo that's going to help people step into their dream life.
Mhm.
Well, Louis goes, when you launch a torpedo into enemy territory, expect counterattack. And
Mhm.
I'm like, really? And he's like, uh-huh. Like slow clap, Josiah, because there's gonna be counterattack. And so you
Yeah.
have to anticipate it. And I'm not saying everyone's pages are gonna get hacked or whatever, but I think there's gonna be different challenges. But I want to hear, why did you write that your dream life awaits?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. Thank you. In my opinion, I think there's always more. No matter what, there's more. So some people are like, I've heard a lot of people say, "Well, I'm already living my dream life," and I would say that you probably believe that about yourself. I believe that about myself, but there's always more. There's never not, and it's
Hmm.
not because you're inadequate. And I say this all the time. It's not because you are not good enough. It's because you're connected to a limitless source with infinite resources and knowledge that wants to pour out blessing on you. That's not prosperity gospel, by the way. That's not what that is, because that kind of lands bad and wrong for some people. But like when you get that in your soul, it makes you look at your life differently. You know what I'm saying?
Well, okay, so are you still doing your, I don't know, like quarterly and weekly like goals? And then like, do
Yeah.
you still meet with your family? Are
Yeah.
you still doing that?
Oh heck yeah. Well, yeah, heck yeah. I have to say that whether I was doing it or not, because I said it in my book. No, we do the whole bit.
Because I've read the book, by the
Yeah,
way.
good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But like one of the things, I'll just turn this into a personal coaching session for 30 seconds if you let me.
Yeah, yeah.
Jared, there's like some deep dreams in my life. And I know if somebody's streaming right now on YouTube or LinkedIn, they're like, or they're going to watch the replay, there's something that they're looking for.
Mhm.
And there's more in store for them.
Yeah.
But like I need to, like, even having this conversation right now is invigorating to me,
Yeah.
because like I can bounce some dreams, some goals, you can speak into it, you can poke holes, you can be like, Josiah, what are you doing, man? Or whoa, what you just said right there, you don't realize how powerful that was. Like,
Hmm.
talk about that.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, take us through, or take me through a little bit of your goal setting framework that's not just like, oh, 2025 New Year's resolutions,
No, no.
but you're seeing traction, you're
Yeah.
seeing momentum. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But I think that the more that you're talking about a dream life awaits, okay, but like I see the 10 years from now, but
Yeah.
what about 2 weeks from now,
Amen.
or
Amen.
Q1, Q2, Q3,
Yeah.
Q4?
Yeah. Well, I love that. I appreciate that question. And I honestly, I'm going through this exercise right now, because right now is the time. I was just on WCCO TV for those of you who are in who are in Minnesota, and that means something to you. But we were talking about this on the segment, and it's like, this is the perfect time. Don't wait till New Year's Day. For one, that tells your subconscious that like it's not that important. If you're like, if I'm just going to put it on the back burner for another 30 days or another 25 days, that you're kind of telling the subconscious that it's not that important, first of all. And second of all, like, this is the best time to start envisioning where you want to be in a year. I love the
Yep.
minutiae, like the tactics of like the quarterly, the weekly, the daily, which you brought up. And I talk about that process in the book, but like it all stems from the vision. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the vision has to be set. I will tell you, I've had such a crazy year. I'm actually having a little hard time trying to wrap my brain around like, what am I supposed to be shooting for in 2025? Because this time last year, what you're seeing right now, I had it, dude, literally verbatim written down. And there's no there's no wonder why it has come to fruition. And it's not because of anything I did. I think that there's something so powerful when you connect with that vision. Proverbs 16:9 says, man casts the vision, God directs his steps. If you have a righteous vision, there's no reason why it should not come to fruition, as long as your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are in alignment with that. It almost has to. Like, God owes us nothing, but that's how he operates. There's a rule of cause and effect. Whether you believe in it or not, there is a rule of cause and effect, right?
Oh,
So
for
when
sure.
you cast that vision, and so you have to ask yourself, like, who are you in your most optimal level? And so you're operating in your most optimal level right now, Josiah. But in a year, your most optimal level will grow and expand. So you don't really know what that is, but the way that you open up the mindset to actually get there is to ask questions. When you ask questions and you get curious, it opens up space. There's supernatural space that gets opened up for then light to shine in. Okay. Remember, when light shines in, it only grows and expands. It never dims. Okay. So ask questions. I love that you asked this question. This is great. So what is your next bold move? What is the next bold step for Josiah Keneally? Anybody watching this live on the replay, what is your next bold move, right? And you have to get outside of your logical brain, because your logistical brain will only base the future on the past, right? So if you're not used to making big steps every year, your logistical brain will say, like, well, I've only moved the needle this much in a year, so that means my vision is only this big. You have to understand, as light comes in, God's light, it is not a linear curve. It is bam, 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 right? But the more that you open up your mind and consciousness and allow that curiosity to settle in, you open up these gaps for the wisdom to get downloaded. And so I would just challenge you, and mull on those questions, meditate, pray, go for walks, talk to God. I know you do this, but like, get curious, because that curiosity leads to the openness. And I'll tell you, for 43 years, I never asked those questions because it was all me. It was all about, what do I need to do to figure it out? And I look back and I never created, there was never any, there was no gaps in between the sand crystals. You know what I'm saying? And then I wondered, and it got me some places. It got me to here, but there was no room to grow because it was all me. And by the way, I'm a Christian at the time. This is not about like whether you're saved or not saved. This is about human evolution. And so I really reached the absolute max that I could reach on my own. And that's why the subtitle of the book, The Dream Life Already Inside, you already have it. God has already given it to you. He wants to pour out more, but you have to, through your thinking and consciousness level, have to create the space for the light to shine in. How do you do that? Ask great questions and get curious. Does that land for you?
It lands, and especially the part that lands is when you said, like, it's beyond you, Josiah, because Jared, like, I think one of my bold prayers for 2025, bold ideas, next steps, it's multiply, double portion. I mean, could you imagine if we were able in our nonprofit to train twice as many young adults, twice as many leaders? And then to do that, well, what's crazy is I think it was Thursday. No, it was yesterday, Friday. I just had a meeting with our first ever intern, like, team. So to get there, we've got to multiply. Our nonprofit right now, it's my wife and me and a board and some volunteers, but it's like, that connects with me so much of getting beyond me, because I think that is the lid where maybe I've been not trapped, but maybe feeling like there's more, or almost like it feels like there's a glass ceiling. I guess that's just what describes the last quarter for me. And now there's a fire that, like, okay, if I can move beyond me, connect with God, and then mobilize a small army of people, now we're cooking with gas.
It's funny because and I think you're onto something, and I commend your awareness for understanding that. When you're a high achiever like you, like wired hot, doesn't lack motivation, and wants major transformation in a year, as I do, you do, we want huge expansion, right?
For sure.
One thing, Craig Siegel, the same guy I brought up, he's like, the key to doing that is actually doing less. Now, let me say that with a massive caveat. that's not a statement for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because over here is grit. It's like doing strategy, grind. That's me. I have no problem doing that. And way over here is the spiritual, right? It's like, I'm going to sit around a fire and sing Kumbaya all day long and do nothing, right? So now that's never been really me. It's always been all me. And again, I'm the epitome of a self-made man, which a lot of people take that as a badge of honor. I'm realizing that is not a badge of honor, right? Wow. Because it's all about me, right? And again, that got me so far. Then you go through a midlife crisis and COVID. That's a recipe for disaster. And so I have learned to slow down. So when I get up in the morning, I got 52 things on my head and I want to jump on my computer. I have to stop, go for my morning gratitude walk, pause, slow down, connect. I'm actually doing less, but connecting more, and I'm getting farther faster because of it. Does that make sense?
It's like, so wasn't it Abraham Lincoln who said, like, if he was going to chop down a tree, he'd spend the first number of hours. Maybe it was like, if he had a day to chop down a tree, he'd spend the first 7 sharpening the axe, and then an hour chopping it down. Like, but so are you, okay, so you take time and you're disciplined, and it's the morning, you got a long to-do list. You go for the gratitude walk. I see you do that when you do have accounts that you can post on.
Yeah, what I can post.
If you don't post that, I don't know if it happened. But like, so are you saying that when you do that, you find that you're more effective, or you're sharper, or you're seeing more results than if you had just gone straight into the mill?
It's more divine. The actions that I take are more inspired, right? Because action isn't the ultimate goal. You know what I'm saying? Like just like, how many times can I turn the wheel throughout the day? That's not the goal of the day. You know what I'm saying? The goal is to be in such alignment that the actions that we take are in perfect alignment with a greater cause for self. Then you become almost supernatural, which is what we're called to be. By the way, and let me just admit something to you here alive. This is actually a Christian book disguised as a personal development book. Because if you can grasp this, right? If you can grasp this, you will connect, you will become supernatural. There will be supernatural things that will happen. And again, that's why even in my mindset, when the Facebook page, everything went down, in my mind, my natural mind was like, dude, the fire is going out. And Craig reminded me, what you're doing is supernatural. You didn't get here. What you're seeing is not of you. So therefore you cannot destroy it. You can't. You know what I'm saying? I hope that lands for people. Hey, Josiah, hold on one second. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. This is my boy Russ. We got Josiah on the line. This is my boy Russ. What's going on, Russ?
Hey, what's up, Jared and Josiah, man?
Meet Josiah. Russ is a good friend of mine. He has a movement called Move 360 out on the West Coast. He's joining us. Wow. He's joining us where it's bright, sunny. He's got the California tan.
I'm getting ready to put my sunglasses on.
It's still dark here in Minnesota. Me and Josiah are pale and vitamin D deficient. We're all man. We have seasonal depression disorder. No, we don't.
I think about you every day, Jared. You know, when you said that you get 6 hours of sunshine a day, I was like, I'm out basking at 4:30 in the afternoon yesterday, out on the wharf, watching all the sea life, and it's amazing.
Russ sends me pictures just to antagonize me. And anyway.
I'm really trying to encourage him.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, I hope you've heard some of this conversation. Josiah is just a phenomenal guy. I would love to hear your guys' opinion on this. I think, because by the way, Russ, you're a man of faith as well. I'm using air quotes here. When bad things happen, I think we're very, very quick to want to pray that away. Oh man, I'm getting attacked, right? God help me. And this is just where I stand. I would love to hear your guys' opinion on this one. I feel sometimes as people of faith, no matter where you stand on faith, by the way, and I respect anybody if you're here, somewhere in between or lack thereof. I truly mean that. But we find ourselves trying to pray away these things that we feel that we're being attacked for. is it possible that some of those attacks, air quotes, are actually the divine's hand trying to make you expand? Russ, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, the answer is yes. I'll tell you a current situation that's going on, and it's with my publisher. And she just recently found out, just 2 days ago, she has known that she's got like a kiwi size ball in her neck, and you know, if you reach in, you can feel it. And there was a thyroid problem. She found out 2 days ago that it is cancerous. And it is basically, you know, she is a woman of faith, very, very strong. She, you know, she teaches at the church. She teaches a women's Bible study. She prays every day. She reads the Bible you know, she is a devout Christian. But she has to go through this situation. We prayed and believed that it wasn't cancer. It is cancer. Right. And so now she is going to have to go through this process, scheduling the date. And she is, I mean, I just yesterday afternoon out on the wharf, her and her husband came in. They live about an hour away to speak with the surgeon, you know, trying to get a date and everything. And so we're walking through this. We're talking through this. And she goes, I'm accepting, not that I wanted to hear it, but I'm accepting that I have cancer. I prayed that it wouldn't be, but I'm accepting it. And now I'm going through it. And I'm there for my kids. And I'm believing that, you know, I am going to have surgery. I'm going to have it removed. I pray that I don't have to go through chemo and all that kind of stuff. But through this process, she is going to be better. And I believe that. We are believing that. And so, yes, we even though we pray against things that it's going to occur, it's, you know, things will still happen. It's in his hands. It's not in ours. And so we're just agreeing now that she does have cancer. We are agreeing now that through surgery and everything, she doesn't have to go through chemo. She doesn't have to go through radiation. She doesn't have to lose her hair, but she will be stronger through this and going through the fire.
I love that. I appreciate that share. Josiah, thoughts on this?
Oh my gosh. I wonder if the reason that, to me, like, you know, even I'm thinking of people who I've heard speak at times who like survived a Nazi training, like concentration camp, like people who've survived, whether it's a war, whether it's like horrific things. I've heard from some like human trafficking survivors or like cancer survivors. I'm always inspired by like people who've gone through deep struggle, challenge, pain, affliction. And I wonder if it's not partially because of their mindset that somehow they learn how to rise above a physical challenge. Like Russell, you were just describing your publisher, your friend, and prayers for her, man. Like I'm joining my faith with yours and with hers because, you know, I think our struggles might not all be the same, but we are all going to face challenges and adversity. And I think that there's this strength that you get from resistance, whether it's in the weight room. Jared, you're a beast. You know that. Whether it's like life or just like family or physical health or, you know, job, economy, work. It's like when you meet somebody, Dave Ramsey, he went bankrupt and then he's now like what, deca millionaire? Because like something happens in the pit that prepares you. I don't know.
So
I'm trying to say,
and I don't want to start a you know, this is just conversation, by the way. This is not like some philosophical, like, you know, Christian theology show here. So is it from above or is it from below? Or doesn't it matter based on how we view it?
Wow.
Russ, what do you think?
You know, you know, a lot of what we do, right? It's, you know, what we eat, you know, can cause some of these afflictions, right? We're not taking care of ourselves. We're not taking care of our mind. I would say, you know, on my publisher's point of view, she does eat right. She does exercise, those kinds of things. And genetically, sometimes we can't avoid that. Genetically, sometimes cancer runs in the family, or, you know, her grandson is now is afflicted with some a very rare disease. I don't remember the name, but it's it's like, all right, God, what is going on here? You know, my grandson is inflicted with something, and now I find out I have cancer. But through this, they are going, as a unit, as a family, going to become stronger through this process.
Yeah.
So, you know, does God necessarily put us through things? Not sure,
Right.
but I think he allows it. And you know, in some cases, it doesn't work out, unfortunately.
I posted about this on my LinkedIn page this morning, and a gentleman by the name of Gary commented on it. He brought up Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And so that was in response to what happened to me earlier this week, and coincides with what Craig told me Wednesday morning, where I'm not kidding you, Russ and Josiah and everybody watching. The very first thing he said to me, he kind of chuckled.
Yeah.
So I'm in despair and have been in despair for 24 hours, no sleep, physically ill. And he goes, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "Not good." And he chuckled a little. He's like, "Well, you know," he goes, "I guarantee you, I will not forget. I guarantee you, this is the best thing that's ever happened for you." He didn't say, "I guarantee you God's doing this," and he just said, "This is the best thing that's ever going to happen." He goes, "You will look back and you will say, this was the best thing for me." I can think of that. You know, COVID, like, you can't say it at the time. Like, when you're in the fire, man, like, it takes a lot of courage and faith to see that. But I can look back and, you know, again, the perfect storm of where I was in my mind, where I was in my life, COVID happening, and it brought me to here. But that, because of that, like, this doesn't exist without that. No superhero reaches, and I'm not suggesting I'm a superhero, but none of us reached new levels without the testing, which is mentioned in this book, right? And so, is it of the Lord or is it of something else? I think you could go down these rabbit trails forever and maybe never arrive on the answer. But depending on how you look at it will dictate whether it takes you this way or it takes you this way. Josiah, thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh. I think that was going to be a variant of my answer. I think it could be both.
Right.
Does God allow testing? 100%. Trials, struggles, absolutely. Is there a real enemy? Of course.
Yeah.
There's resistance. There's opposition. And it could be also people or us. I get in my own way. Plenty.
The ego, pride, flesh. Yeah.
And so, but I think it is like, okay, when you said, does it matter? I'm not sure that it does. I think the response can be the same either way. And Jared, I gotta go, but bro, we need to have you on the Young Adults Today podcast and keep the combo going if you're up for it.
100%. Just reach out, brother. Thanks for joining us today, man. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Nice meeting you, Josiah.
Hey, Russ, great to meet you.
Pleasure.
Russ, what do you think about that?
Oh man, you know, I agree. It's both. You know, because you look at it, Jared. You mentioned COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a worldwide issue, and because of our response to that, you have your book, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are going the route you're going. You are no longer relying upon a job source. You have a family of 6, you know, and you are stepping out in faith going through this, right? But it was because of this worldwide problem that all of a sudden this came about, and you went that way and not that way. You know what I mean? And I as well had the same experience. You know, I pivoted away from personal training after 28 years of training and coaching to now, you know, authoring, you know, books and going down Move Today 365. It's, you know, it was a time of pivoting for me. So through these, you know, like you said, we go right or we go left. And we're basically both kind of going down that same road together, but meeting, you know, obviously different people, right?
Yeah.
So
I again, I'm so appreciative for literally that statement that Craig gave me on Wednesday morning, because that, like, my mindset that morning was, you know, like it was bad and getting worse. And it wasn't, let me rephrase that. Coming out of that hole on Wednesday morning after having my identity stolen, it's been like this throughout the week, but that was the inflection point that I needed, right? Because boom, now I take on a different mindset. And therefore, how I looked at it changed. Therefore, how I felt about it changed. Therefore, my actions thereafter changed, which lead you down that path. And I think that that's probably the overwhelming theme here on this call, or whatever you want to call it. But I think like whatever challenge you're going through, and by the way, you will have some. It doesn't have to be a worldwide pandemic.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be a worldwide. What he's doing. You okay back there, buddy? You will have some. But I think like I agree with Josiah. There is a real enemy. Sometimes the enemy is ourselves. It's our ego. It's our pride. Perhaps it's something bigger than that, and it probably is. There are some people though, like, I want to say this delicately, like you're trying to get a parking spot at the grocery store, and at the last minute, like somebody, you're about ready to turn into a parking spot, and somebody goes in there. Mm-hmm. It's like that's the devil. He's attacking me. I've been through seasons where I thought like that. And you know what? When I'm constantly on the lookout for being attacked, guess what? Well, guess what I see everywhere? I'm getting attacked.
Yes. Then
I am a victim that will never be able to every day, constantly. Yeah. And it was Jenna D'Annunzio. I had her on my Life-Undeferred live stream the day I launched. I was having a chat with her, and I was like, yeah, we live in a broken world. There's evil everywhere. And she stopped me. And I mentioned that conversation. Maybe I mentioned it was in a conversation before I wrote the book. I think I remember I mentioned it. I think I did. I mentioned it in the book. And she stopped me and she called me out on it. She goes, Jared, you cannot have the mindset that we live in this broken, evil world where there's bad things happening. Because how in the heck are you supposed to win? How are you supposed to win in a world that is constantly against you?
Yeah. And
that changed my mindset. And it changed it in such a way where it's like, I don't have to fight to keep my head above water to fight all the evil in the world. There's opposition, there's opponents. But at the end of the day, I am a conqueror, I'm a victor, and I get to choose which direction I want to go. And it's exactly what you said a couple minutes ago.
100%. Because we, like you said, we're all faced with problems and situations, and it could be daily, and it could be minor, like a parking situation. It could be something much greater, like cancer in your throat, in your thyroid.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're all faced with these kinds of things. And so we have issues, we have challenges, we have obstacles. It's how do we approach and go after those situations?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a person of faith, you're on your knees, you're praying, you're taking a walk, you're out, walking in the darkness in Minnesota, you're offering up, if you're in California, you're in the light.
Literally. It's actually up now, barely.
Okay.
9:12. It just peeked over the sunrise.
But we got speed bumps, right? We have speed bumps in our life, and it's how we are going to approach those speed bumps. I've shared with you and our group on Tuesday mornings, with regards to my son, and we're only as happy as our lowest point of our children, and it's funny how life alters. He had a great job out of college for 5 years, then through different circumstances of people being hired in the company, then he ended up leaving. And so, now he's looking for work, and my daughter, who was looking for work, now has a great job and is looking to go to school, and she's got 2 kids. And so, it's life's ebbs and flows, and it's we go through that with them. We go through it with ourselves. We go through those challenges, but how do we approach it every day? And that's in the right mindset.
Yeah. I love that. And if you have the paradigm in your spirit that this is for my good, and God will somehow use this for good, and I have plans not to hurt you, but to prosper you. Boy, I mean, that really looked at me. And again, it doesn't make the challenges all of a sudden go away. To your point, there will be challenges, there will be tests. Life is school. Don't be offended, but it is for your. And I found the timing of this identity theft too very, very peculiar. It was literally 2 weeks to the day of launching the book, like when I'm riding high. And it was like God said there was some things that needed to get reset early in the game, so it could then expand and grow and shine brighter than what it would have if it would not have happened. Well, then all of a sudden I look at it like, well, let's go, instead of like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I'm going to cancel the rest of my week and sulk all week, to like, let's freaking go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's gonna impact those around you. It's gonna impact your wife. It's gonna impact your kids based on your attitude through it. Yes, the first initial punch is a blow and it doubles you over.
Yeah.
Right. You lose sleep. You're fretting over it. Your identity theft, all of these things, it's a huge thing. But then all of a sudden you step back and you get away from the situation.
Yeah.
You look at it from a different perspective, different eyes, and you say, all right, now in the end, and it is ironic that it was 2 weeks to the day because you came off of this supreme high.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, kaboom!
Boom.
You know what I mean? And now you're getting back to where you need to be. You're refocusing, and it's your mindset going forward. And through it all, we have a new Jared with a new focus.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And this is just the beginning, honestly. Like if I think if you can absorb that and get that in there, it will motivate you. It'll open up your mind in such a way that it will actually make you stronger. I was talking with a friend of mine last night. I was like, when I get that back, whether it's the old account or the new one, if you thought I was loud before, buckle up. Like,
love that.
If it was the enemy's plan to take me out, and I'm using air quotes because who knows? You just like ticked off the bear, so to speak. There's a book by, I wanted to bring this up and get your thoughts on this. There's a book, and I'm pointing back here because the book is actually over here. But Dr. Benjamin Hardy, Be Your Future Self Now. Highly recommend that book. I read that book back in early 2023, blew my mind. And that helped me in my transformation big time. But he talks about levels of consciousness. And there are several several ways to articulate these. But like he said, the lowest level of consciousness is really need, right? Like you're needy. You've been around like needy people. It's exhausting. They blame, they're victims. They always need something from you. They're never really interested in changing it, but they're always in a source of need. Then it's want, right? So now I want a different life. I want to lose weight. I want to be different. I want to be transformed. And that's better, but it's still not the best. And then you graduate to doing. Okay. So now I want to read a book. I want to go to the gym. I want to change how I eat, whatever you fill in the blank. But the highest level is becoming. Now you are becoming a new being, right? But in Dr. Benjamin Hardy's book, he says there's even a level above that. And he says, knowing, where you know that you know that you know. We talk about certainty in our small group, having that certainty consciousness, right? The Bible would call that faith. and the Bible says, with the faith of a mustard seed, you can do what? You can move mountains, right?
Yes.
So everything that's in your life that is a challenge, it is to graduate you to these different levels. Because when you graduate to these higher levels, you become supernatural. We talked about that before you hopped on the call with Josiah. But it's like you start seeing this supernatural presence that you cannot explain. Does that mean that what's your thoughts on that as I was explaining that?
Oh man, that is some great thoughts. I have not read that book myself.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, sounds like I need to jump on that one. I think a lot of people are in those lower two echelons, right? And live there, are comfortable in that state, and just going after the day. It's just like, I'm going to meet the needs. I'm going to get up and go to work at 8. I'm going to get home at 5. I'm going to go, hang out in the garage. I'm going to have dinner with my family, watch some television, and then repeat that 5 days a week, right? And you go through that cycle, and there's nothing wrong with that cycle, but you're living in those two, lower echelons. And it's like, what do we really aspire? What do we really desire out of life? Do we want more out of life, or are we happy with living in that? And unfortunately, most people are going to go through their entire being being down there at that bottom.
Agreed.
And there's nothing wrong with that. People are very happy in that. They don't know any different,
right?
But where do you really want to live? Where do you want to be? And it's about growth. For me, and I've shared with you guys. When Craig had asked me in December of 2023, what is my word for 24? I didn't have a word, and then all of a sudden it just hit me. That I'm going to be intentional about my day. I'm going to be intentional about life, and it was that question and that what came in, and that has flipped my world upside down in a positive way, right? And it's taken me to another level. And I know why I'm doing what I'm doing and I know where I'm at, but I'm still a long ways from where I want to be, and just constantly growing to that.
Well, first of all, I commend you for doing that. So congratulations. And there's always more. It's not because it's not because you are inadequate. I want people to hear that. Like the growth mindset isn't to always aspire, and I'm never content. Like I get that a lot too. Like, well, why, you just need to be content. Like slow down, slow down. And I don't understand that question. I don't understand that rebuttal. Just because I want to grow and expand and I want more does not make me discontent. They can coexist. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
By the way, Scott Jagosinski just chimed in on LinkedIn. Russ, if you have not connected with Scott Jagosinski, please do. This dude is all about helping people over 50 like become harder to kill. He's a Benjamin Hardy phenom. So for those of you on the screen, if you have not connected with Scott Jagosinski, make sure you do so. He's a great resource. But what you just described, what is the road to becoming? And I would agree with you. I think most people, and I'm not poo-pooing people. I'm trying to help them as you are. I would say if I had to put a number on it, there's no scientific backing behind this, but like 95 to 98% of people, they never get to that higher level of truly becoming. They're living in what we would call the 1% slice, right? Yeah. Like there's there, and if you just graduated to 2 or 3, if you opened up that vessel, so to speak, that we talk about, let that light in to 2%, 3%, you would watch your life grow in ways you cannot explain. And I said this on WCCO News. They just had me on. Russ, you don't know what that is because you don't live in Minnesota. But it's not for you to get away from who you are now. Like you're bad, you're broken, you're not good enough, so you need to transform. It's actually to become more of who you are supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The growth mindset isn't to get away from your life today because it sucks and you suck. It's to step into who you actually are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
What a beautiful way to look at it. Like inside of you and everybody on this call, it's there and it's waiting to come out.
Yes.
And when you open up your mind and take those steps to become, you're not someone you're not supposed to be. You're actually becoming who you are supposed to be. Yes. You know what I mean? What a beautiful picture, right?
Yes, yes. I have a friend who's an author. I just actually recently met her, and she has some books called The Wish, Jen. And so in our conversation, Jen was talking about what she wants to do over the next 5 years, and she basically wants to write 30 books. And the thing is that she says it's out there, like it's out there waiting for me. And I'm moving towards it. I'm growing towards what I'm supposed to be, right? But it's already there. I just have to take the steps to get there to meet it, right? Yeah. And, and a lot of it is the unknown. A lot of people don't want to live in the unknown and step out in that faith and step out of their comfort zone and say, I'm willing to grow and to go to whatever level that is. And for me personally, I had no idea 1 year ago, I had no idea 6 months ago where I would be today. But in stepping out and believing and working towards it, it's not just stepping out and saying, okay, I've stepped out. No, it's stepping out and doing. It's being, it's growing, right? Yeah. So you've got to put the steps in. You got to put the action in to what is, maybe some of it you may know, some of it you don't, most of it you don't know.
Most of you won't. Yeah. And you won't because you haven't expanded enough here to actually see it.
Yes.
But that, but again, you paint a beautiful picture, and I can't even, like, so much has happened in the last 6 months. I don't really know, like if there's a lot of thought put into this, but like the subtitle of the book is like Unlock the Dream Life Already Inside. I knew I wanted to have that type of verbiage because to your point, like, guys, if you're watching this, I don't have the answers. Like, Russ, you're great. I love you, bro. But like, you don't have the answers. Like,
not even close.
You have them inside you. You don't have to go searching for them. And that's how I thought. I remember like when I was really coming out of COVID, I remember just like grasping at straws, like who's got the answer? And I was like literally like I was so afraid. I just wanted to make money because I thought like I was never be able to make money someday. So I was like buying programs just to make money that were completely in disalignment with who I am. And of course, none of them worked. It's not because they were bad programs. It's because they weren't me. Right.
Yeah.
And then it was like something shifted where I was like, no. I need to figure out what is my authentic self, and the actions that I take need to be in alignment with that. And when that happened, and you know the story, guys, and you know it, Russ, but like other people that are maybe new, like even my physical body started to transform. Why? Is because it was in alignment to what was already there. And because of how I thought, felt, and the actions that you're talking about were in alignment, then all of a sudden it started to actually get revealed. And so it wasn't something like God gave me this gift and this guy over here gave me a gift and I got some nugget over there from that lady and she gave me it. No. It was actually being revealed from the inside out. That's true transformation. That's not just goal setting. That is radical transformation.
Yeah. Radical transformation for me in this process of this last year from January of 2024, we're talking 11 months.
Yeah.
For the transformation for me is meeting people along life's journey that have helped, shaped, and mold and elevated me as a human being. Right. And so I've allowed certain people into my life to grow and to mature and to mold my life in where I am right now. And there's going to be other things that I read, things that I study, people that I meet that come into my life, right? That are going to help mold and shape me into the man and into the person that I want to become in my journey, because we never reach the end. We never reach the end goal. We're constantly driving towards that, right? And so it's just, I'm excited to be in the place that I am, and I know that you are. And, through this recent speed bump in your life, you're going to look back and you say, I'm going to mark this time in my life. Like this in first part of December, 2 weeks after I launched my book and had all of these highs from traveling and speaking to real estate agents in Disneyland, down in Florida. And then, what you've done this week as far as your other real estate group and now on television and, it's just on and on and on. But man, it's just going to go through this, after this little speed bump that you've had. Yeah.
Well, I love that. We can start to land this plane here. I know, like, you got stuff to do. You got beach volleyball to play. Gosh, do you want to trade? How about we'll do the Airbnb switch?
Okay.
You ever see that? You ever watch The Holiday?
Oh yeah.
Is that The Holiday? Is that what it is?
You want me to chop wood? Do you want me to chop wood for you?
I got plenty for you to chop, brother. If you want. Have you ever done it? You ever
I have.
Wood?
I have.
It's actually mildly.
It's
it's mildly satisfying, and I have like major OCD, so like I love getting the wood like all the same size, But it feeds the beast. Hey, I hope people have been inspired by this. I appreciate you joining me here.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
PSA, and you can pop off whenever you want. By the way, go check out Russ. Move 360. Is it Move Today 365.com? Yep, that's his website. Go check it out. He's got books out. He's got a movement going. Like this is like he's gonna be like this guy's gonna be famous someday. So like get a hold of Russ while you can, while he's still accessible. So
I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, we'll talk soon, brother. We'll talk.
Sounds
soon.
good, man. Thank you.
See you,
you too.
Guys, kind of a last PSA here before I pop offline. Hey, if you get your Facebook hacked, one of the best things you can do is nothing. Don't start responding to texts, emails. Never send identification via email or text. That was like a rookie mistake to massive proportions. If you need to talk to somebody, most of the communication, from what I understand with Meta, is all done online. You open up cases, it's all done through their infrastructure. I don't even know. For God's sakes, don't get on the phone with people. And if they want you to download apps so they can access your phone, for crying out loud, don't do it. So I'm a little smarter because of it. And maybe that's a lesson I need to learn here early in the game. So anyway, hey, we're going to start to wind this down. But thanks for joining us. For those of you who hung on this long, I hope you have a great day. If you have challenges in your life, maybe it's, getting an offender bender or losing a parking spot or having your identity stolen. Make sure that you have the right mindset. Understand what you can learn. Don't view it as something so horrific, but rather something that's going to elevate you and expand you further. So that's the message here today on this Saturday, December the 7th. I love you guys. We'll talk soon. More to come on this. Don't go to my Facebook page. You can't. Be careful what you see from me on Instagram, if anything. And we're going to come back in some way, shape, or form. And it's going to be way better and way bigger. I promise you that. Have a great day, guys. We'll talk soon.